Let me see. Did y'all notice that Austin Trout is always in the mix? A lot of people say, well, you know, he must be one of those fighters that's really close with Al Heyman because Al Heyman's always looking out. That has to be the case. 31 years old. He's 30-3 with 17 KOs. He lost his last fight against Jamal Charlo, former IBF champion. Remember, Jamal is the one who moved up. Jamel is WBC champion that just beat Charles Hadley on the undercard of Broner versus Porter. So now you have Jarrett Hurd, who's the IBF champion after beating Tony Harrison for the vacant title. So now you ask yourself, well, how is Austin Trout getting another title? Now, it hasn't been, it's not official per se, but Jarrett Hurd, the IBF champion, posted on his social media, and in media, it's known, you know, that he is supposed to be fighting Austin Trout next. You know, so it's going to be, or supposed to be, on the undercard of Broner versus Mikey Garcia, July the 29th, likely in the Barclays Center. Now, we know that the card is happening. We know that Broner versus Mikey Garcia is official on Showtime, July the 29th. The other things that are yet to be determined is if it hasn't been officially announced, you know, by the promoters and the PR that Jarrett Hurd is going to be fighting Austin Trout. But we do know, you know, that that's supposed to be the co-feature, and then the other fight is supposed to be Devin Alexander versus Luis Colazo, rumored, you know, or, you know, I'm thinking that's not rumored. The fight is rumored, but I'm thinking it'll probably be for the IBF Eliminator to be #1 contender for Errol Spence. So it's like this. It's a good fight all in all, overall on paper, for both Austin Trout and Jarrett Hurd, because it's going to be Jarrett Hurd's biggest fight of his career. If you go look at his resume, you know, Jojo Dan, I was at that fight. He fought Tony Harrison when he won the belt, you know, and then he's supposed to be fighting Austin Trout. Austin Trout, however, is in a situation where he has to get a win, because when it comes to his biggest fights, even though he has that big win, you know, over Miguel Cotto, the biggest win of his career, when it comes to his biggest fights, so Canelo Alvarez, Erislandy Lara, you know, and Jamal Charlo, he has lost. You know, but you have to give him respect because he is fighting, you know, the people, you know, the best 154-pounders that there is. What's next? Demetrius Andrade? You know, I'm surprised he didn't make that fight. So, even though, you know, he is 5-1, no, 4-1 in his last 5, most recently to Jamal Charlo, he didn't get stopped. And this is the big Jamal. This is the big Charlo. Also, you know, Austin Trout does have some really good movement and boxing ability, but the problem with Austin Trout is he's considered to be somewhat of a feather puncher. Even though, you know, that Joey Hernandez and Luis Galarza fight, and that Luis Grajada fight, I watched all 3 of those. It's crazy. You know, I forgot which one of those he's had issues in. He had issues in a couple of those fights. I know he had some issues in the Daniel Dawson fight. And there was another one he had a little bit of issues in. But even though he's racking up some stoppages and some knockouts in his most recent fights, you know, still he's only had 1 fight in 2016, you know, and this is his first fight in 2017. And we just don't really look at Austin Trout as being a power puncher. You feel me? I don't see him like, I don't say, yo, Austin Trout's going to go out there and stop dude. Nobody ever says that. You know, so when it comes to Jarrett Hurd, we still find it, even though he's champion, he's a champion in one of the most strictest of organizations, the IBF. And when it comes to that 154-pound division, he's got fights out there, you know, that that fans want to see. Like, for example, a unification against him and Erislandy Lara, or a unification between him and Jamel Charlo. You know, but we don't really know yet really who he is, and if, you know, we're really confident that he could beat Austin Trout. Because realistically, you know, even though we know who he is as far as the hardcore boxing fans, he's just for the most part stepping on the scene, you know? And the thing is, he's a champion. So, you know, I'm looking at it like, you know, that's a nice lineup for his, you know, for 3 fights. I like that Jojo Dan fight. Even though he's probably fighting Jorge Lara, Lubin ended up fighting him, getting that WBC. He went the IBF route. As you can see, he's IBF champion. I like Jojo Dan on his resume. I like Tony Harrison on the resume. And now, you know, he's got to fight Austin Trout. But can he beat Austin Trout, you know? And Austin Trout has been in there with Canelo and put on a hell of a performance against Canelo. Some people say he won that fight. Not me. You know, and then, you know, for him to fight guys like Iris Lara and Charlo, you have to give him respect. And also, you know, you have to think, where does this put him, you know, as far as a big money fight going forward in the future? For example, you know, Miguel Cotto still had unfinished business with Austin Trout, and I'm sure fans would want to see that fight, especially if Austin Trout beats Jarrett Hurd. You know, so if you don't know, Miguel Cotto's just signed with Golden Boy Promotions. Fights he should be more active now. Rock Nation, in my opinion, just didn't have the, you know, they didn't have the, even though they had the money, they didn't have the connections to keep a guy like Miguel Cotto happy, especially with the money they were promising him. But for Cotto, you know, if he wants to avenge that Canelo loss, right, then he should want to avenge that Austin Trout loss. Or was Austin Trout, you know, maybe Cotto considered him to be too dangerous, you know? So, but still, if Cotto's going to be fighting and signing a multi-fight deal with excuse me, not HBO, might as well say it's with HBO, you know, with Golden Boy, then, you know, you can fit Austin Trout into that. You know, Jarrett Hurd, I don't think that Cotto would take that fight. You know, but with Austin Trout, you know, you got the fact that, well, you can get that win. I'm T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. All the links to my social media right down below in the description box. Please subscribe.